My little hi. Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us. My name's Craig. I write material for a website called mentioningles.com that has lots of free material to improve your English. And we also have a free newsletter. If you'd like to sign up for the newsletter, every 2 weeks, we will send you exercises, listenings, and lots of things to do by email for free into your email inbox. And also we have a podcast that you can find at inglespodcast.com, and that's a free podcast that is published every week, every Sunday, and you can listen to it wherever you listen to your audio. And I'd like to welcome this week Monica. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, fine. And you, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Monica's from blogdelingles.com. Why don't you tell people what you have on your blog, Monica?
Okay, so my name is Monica Stoker. Well, I have another last name, but I like to use the English one. I am the author of Blog para Aprender Inglés. That's the old blog that has tons of material for free. And the new blog is blogdelingles.com. And also we have 2 academies, one for private people that's called EPI for teaching English over Skype or Zoom or other platforms, and also Apprentice for companies. So you can check our websites. And I also write a newsletter, and if you subscribe, you'll get it every week or every 15 days. Okay, from Blog del Inglés with new material, usually with a video and infographics. I try to write every detail about the topics. And today we have a topic that is quite interesting for increasing vocabulary or for writing, right?
Yes, and it's something that, to be honest, I sometimes get confused between the differences, simile, metaphor, analogy, and euphemisms. Sometimes I confuse exactly what is what. So today we're going to explain what they are. We'll give you some examples and try and explain the difference and how you can use these things in English. But before we get into that, let's say hi to people who are joining us live on Facebook. Hi, Norma. And Fabiana's here, Francisco from New Zealand. Wow, the other side of the planet. Yeah. Hi, Christine. Brainer, Camilo, hello. And Gemma, good to see you again, Gemma. How are you? Anna's here from Argentina. Mariela says, no entiendo nada con traducción. Well, Mariela, I'll try to speak slowly. We'll try to speak slowly. Keep listening, because if you can understand something, it's going to improve your comprehension. So hello to everybody who's joining us at the moment on Facebook, and thank you for watching the replay if you're watching after the fact. So, Monica, where should we begin? Should we begin with similes?
Yes, that's number 1, no? The similes. So, you have there the definition, so it's very easy, no? But I was going to say that this is the same in Spanish, because the word is Latin, so it's like similar it's the same word, no? Something similar. So it's easy to remember.
Something that's similar to something. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the definition is comparing 2 different things in an interesting way. Because the definition that Craig, and I could also say that is comparison of one thing with another thing of a different kind, used to make a description more emphatic. That's the definition from the dictionary. And the example is brave as a lion, brave, tan valiente como un león. That's the expression in Spanish. We can also say that in Spanish. So brave as a lion. Are you as brave as a lion?
No,
you think you are?
I'm not as brave as a lion. I'm as quiet as a mouse. Which is
mice are quiet. I never thought that they were quiet.
Well, they're quieter than a lion. I think.
Of course, but they start chewing. You can hear them.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
that
We've got some more.
sometimes.
Got more examples here. If you say something is like something else, so
Yeah,
using as Monica said, or you can use the word like. She's like a rose, which means she is similar to a rose. So if you remember being similar to something, simile, then you can easily make the connection with as or like. My shoes smell like old cheese. That's true. And he eats like a pig. Craig eats like a pig. Or you can say he is as fat as a pig. So if you're comparing me to a pig, then you're using as fat as a pig.
yeah. It's like Craig is. Look what Christina says. Is as good as gold. Is as valuable as gold. I would say.
That's a nice example. As good as
Yeah.
gold. Thank you, Christine.
Yeah.
Yes, that is as something is a simile. So as black as coal is carbon, is very, very black. As white as snow is very, very white, for example.
So it's so. Do we have a quiz for this part? Maybe or not?
Yes, let's have a
I
quiz. Let's see if you can finish. Choose the best word to finish some common similes. Now, native speakers know these similes because they're very common. So if you said to someone as fat as, they will probably say a pig or maybe an elephant. So they would know. Or as black as, they would say coal, because they're very, very strong collocations, these similes. So let's see if you can guess what these similes are. Here's the first one.
So as smooth as glass, stone, water, and silk. I even can think of another word here.
Which one?
I forgot. There's another word, I'm sure, but it's not. Well, I'm not going to say the answer. Sorry, I
Don't
cannot
say the answer. What
Yeah.
is silk in Spanish for Spanish speakers out there?
Seda.
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 Okay.
It was.
So we've got some answers coming in. Fabiana says silk.
Yeah, I know.
Norma says silk.
Velvet. Velvet. I was going to say velvet.
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 I wouldn't say as smooth as velvet. I might say as soft as velvet.
Yeah,
I think
it could
that's
be. Yeah.
as soft as velvet. Yeah, well done. Silk is the answer. Well done, Gemma. Well done, Norma. Fabiana. Yeah. So as smooth as silk. You can say that the sea is as smooth as silk. It's not moving at all. Yeah. Good.
So
let's do one more.
Smooth means liso, no?
Yes.
Liso.
And
that doesn't have any, any, I would say, little hills or anything. It's flat, smooth, and also soft, no?
Well, it depends. I mean, the opposite of smooth could be rough, R-O-U-G-H. So the sea would be rough or smooth.
Yeah.
So, or calm,
in a
perhaps would be
figurative way.
better.
In a figurative way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do another one.
This is a very common one. That's why I know it, because it's very common. As old as the sea, tan viejo como el mar, the trees, the hills, or the mountains. Who knows this? As old as I am, and I am now as old as I am.
No, you're not. You're as young as. What's the simile for young? I don't know. As young as. No,
I don't have no. As young as a puppy. Norma is very close, but not exactly, because it's not a collocation with mountains. It's very close, though.
It is, yeah.
It's very close, but it's not. Gemma, that's right.
The hills, very good.
Yeah, we say as old as the hills. Yes, tan viejo como las colinas, and I don't understand why. Because the sea is old, the trees are old, everything is old. Why? Why, Craig?
I don't know. I have no explanation. I'm sorry, I don't know. But why do we have these collocations? Why do we say make money and do business? It's just the language. It's just
it's a spontaneous. Yeah, it's a spontaneous generation. No, this is a spontaneous generation. It's just because people repeat it in a certain way, and at the end it stays that way. No. This is even happening today with the language. With the language we speak today, the same thing is happening without us realizing that it's happening.
Exactly.
So it keeps saying that as all as a hill. Somebody started with a sentence and everybody repeated, and at the end it's all as a hill because it doesn't have. I don't understand it.
Me neither.
But this
So
is the way we speak.
if Monica tells a really bad joke, I could say, Monica, that joke is as old as the hills. I've heard this 1,000 times.
And so it's not funny anymore.
It's not funny.
As hard as nails, uñas, rock, una roca, stone, piedra, and iron. Who knows this? This is easy.
It's interesting that you said uñas because I was thinking of clavos.
This is true because it's also the meaning, but I suppose the nails is the clavo is harder than a nail, but we also say that my nails are not hard anymore. You can say that people have hard nails.
And iron is what's iron in Spanish? Hierro.
Iron is hierro. Yeah.
Hierro. Yeah.
Hierro. So some people say rock and some people say stone. But the right answer is no.
As hard as nails. That's the collocation. As hard as nails.
That's a surprise. You see, clavos, tan duro como un clavo, but it could be a rock and a stone or a car. And iron is quite hard, but it's as nails.
As hard as nails.
Nobody got it right.
You could say that a person is as hard as nails. If they don't show their emotions, if they don't show their feelings, you could say, yeah, they're as hard as nails.
So this is a big surprise. Nobody got it right. So this because the most logical thing people think, I think, is rock and stone. But it's nails. But nails is clavo, not uñas. Okay, she is as cold as. That's very easy. This one is a snow, ice, nieve, ice, yellow, the Arctic, and sleet. Sleet is a word that is not very common. C1, and it means I don't know in Spanish. I used to know, but I forgot. Sleet.
Which word? Sleet. Isn't it frozen rain?
Aguanieve o granizo. Yeah, granizo, sleet. Yeah, they're all very cold, but it's only one. As cold as, we have everybody saying ice. Christine is saying ice. Emma.
If you're as old as me, if you're as old as the hills, you might remember a song from the 80s by Foreigner that has this simile in the title. She's as cold as by the group Foreigner. And the answer is as cold as ice. So well done, Norma, Gemma, and Christine. Yeah, she's as cold as ice. She's willing to sacrifice our love.
Maria Claudia, also correct.
Very good.
Thank you, Christine, for aguanieve. And Regina, no, it's not snow. It's very close. But in fact, if you think about it, snow is not as cold as ice. Ice is much colder. I know because we had Filomena here in Madrid. And I saw a lot of snow and I was touching a lot of snow.
Yeah,
and it's not as cold as the ice. The ice is really cold.
Yes, it is.
And I didn't like it too much. The snow is very nice when you see it when you go skiing and you see it in the mountains. But when you have it at home for 10 wet days,
yeah, and you have to move it from your house and you have to move it from your car. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, especially if you live in a country or in a place that normally it doesn't snow. And this is what happened in Madrid, that it doesn't really snow here. Never, almost never. But she's as cold as ice. You're as cold as ice.
The next one. The next one, for example, last night I slept really, really well. So if you sleep really well, you say I slept like a what?
In Spanish, it's the same.
Is it?
Dormí. Yeah. Dormí.
Oh yes, it is. Yeah, it's the same in Spanish.
It's the same. There's a clue. Okay, I slept like a. leaf, hoja,
Hoja.
log, tronco, branch.
Yep, Christine's got it. Log. Very good. Slept
Log,
like a
branch,
log.
and also branch is rama and tree. It makes and why is it a log? This is funny because in Spanish it's the same, and I think because logs don't move.
Maybe. Yeah, you don't move them. But why not tree? Trees don't move. Why not
Well, but
tree?
with the wind they move with the leaves.
The branch. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair
And
enough.
the log is more difficult. You would need to, I don't know, throw water to them to make them move because they won't move, the logs. Okay.
Next one. If you cannot see, you're blind. But this is not used for blind people. It's more, for example, if I take off my glasses, I can't really see the screen. So when I remove my glasses, if I don't wear glasses, I'm as blind as a what?
So
Beaver, bat, worm, or mole?
A beaver is I forgot. What is a beaver in English?
A beaver is English. In Spanish,
A
a
ver, en
beaver
Spanish.
is castor.
Un castor, eso. A bat, un murciélago. A worm, un gusano. And a mole is topo.
Topo, yeah.
Topo. There's also, moles are more collocation with a spy.
Yes.
It's a spy. Because they go underground. They go underground. That's why. So, okay, I think Fabiana, who has it? Fabiana, that's correct. And Gemma has it. Yeah, it's as blind as a bat. It's
as
true that
blind as a bat.
Yeah, because they have this. They have this way of flying as a radar. Actually,
Yes.
they know where they are because of the system they have. This radar.
I don't know if it's radar or sonar, but they have something.
Yeah, they have a system that is, well, probably similar to radars because they don't really have radars. No.
Little dishes on the head.
No, it's similar. And then they know exactly the location of the place because of that system they have in the body. And they don't need the eyes. No, they move around and they don't need the eyes. That's why I am blind as a bat. Yeah.
Okay. Next one. As cool as. So this isn't necessarily cool as in the opposite of warm. Like if you take an exam, for example, or have a job interview, most people get really nervous and really anxious and stressed. But if you're okay and you're chilled, everything's fine, no problem, then you're cool. You're not anxious, you're not worried. So we say in English, you are as cool as a vegetable.
Already,
but which vegetable? Cabbage, cauliflower, cucumber, carrot.
Gemma, and Norma got it right.
Already?
Yes, already. Cucumber. They put cucumber as cool because this is an idiom. This is an idiom, as cool as a cucumber. I see it everywhere. No, this is an idiom too. As cool as a cucumber. I think Craig is as cool as a cucumber with the microphone and then and the background noise and the software and the platforms is cool as a cucumber. Anything can happen, but I can deal with it. No.
In English, we say I'm like a duck, un pato. It looks as cool as a cucumber on the surface of the water when it's just moving along, but underneath the legs are going like this.
Yeah, like a duck. Cabbage is repollo. Cauliflower is cauliflower, and cucumber and carrot.
Cabbage is col, isn't it?
Sí,
cabbage in
repollo.
Repollo.
Okay. Repollo. Well, there are different kinds of these cabbages, these coles, and there are different kinds of red cabbage, or there are many different kinds. So cucumber, as light as, this is the same, I think, in Spanish. Feather, leaf, flower, or bird. Tan ligero como un, I think it's the same. I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think it is the same. Yeah. So if they're the same, they're easy, aren't they? For you
Yes,
Spanish
because if you think
speakers.
yes, somebody got it right already.
Yeah. Christine's got it. And
Christina.
Norm's got it.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
As light as a feather.
Como tan ligero como una pluma.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, but this can be used in a figurative way too. No, that doesn't physically mean that you're, for example, very light as a feather. It means that you feel as a feather. No, or both ways. I think you can say it both ways. And he's as light as a feather. Is that it?
That's it. That's it. Yeah, we will revise those
much,
similes at the end when we finish. But let's move on to our next group of metaphors. What's a metaphor? It's when something represents or symbolizes something else. So you're taking one thing to symbolize something different, and you're making a direct comparison. You're comparing two things that are different. Let's give you some examples. Computers at school are old dinosaurs. Well, they're not really dinosaurs, are they? They're not dinosaurs, they're computers. But when you compare computers to dinosaurs, then you understand that they're very old and they're from many years ago. They call me a dinosaur at my school because I've been there for so long. So the young teachers call the older teachers dinosaurs because we've been at the school for many, many years.
Another one is time is money, but it's the same in Spanish. But I wanted to say that also a metaphor is also used in a poetic way. It's a longer explanation because in the simile we were comparing two things that were of a different kind. But here is a little bit longer, no? It's like to make it clear when you're explaining something and you don't know how to explain it, you can use these metaphors to make it just much more clear for the audience, no? So my boss is a witch. It's quite clear. If you say that, or that your boss is a witch, it's quite clear that this boss is not a very nice person.
And you don't like her. Yeah, she's horrible.
Yeah, she's horrible. And the next one is a Shakespeare famous quote.
Yes.
All the world's a stage. Todo el mundo es un escenario. Yeah. So this is also, that's why I say it's used in literature, and it's a way to describe things that in a very. I always use this thing. I use metaphors when people. You know what the metaphors I use for learning English? I say what happens is that you in your brain you have the landlord is Spanish, and then you rent part of your brain to a tenant that is English. But the English guy is very small and doesn't have many resources, so has to borrow the furniture from the Spanish. These are the words. The pieces of furniture are the words and the vocabulary and all that, because he doesn't have anything, because he doesn't have any resources. So he's all the time borrowing things and creating Spanglish, because this is my metaphor. And I said, so what you have to do is to give resources to the English tenant, al inquilino inglés, and treat him well and feed him, give him work to do. And then he's going to have his own resources, his own words. But in the meantime, you're always going to be borrowing furniture, so vocabulary from Spanish, because it's the only thing you have in your brain.
That's I like that. I like that metaphor. That's very useful. Yeah. And they are really useful for explaining things and making things clear. Like that example is perfect. Absolutely. Yeah. What do you think all the world's a stage means? The Shakespeare quote.
Are you asking to me, or are you asking to the audience?
No, I'm thinking at the moment. All the world's a stage. I think it continues, and we are players or we are actors on the stage. It's about life, I think, about how we live our life.
We're merely actors, and I think it's kind of true. But he's saying, I don't know if he refers like when you die, there is a second life or something like that. We just
Yeah, maybe
come
there's
here
a religious
yeah,
meaning. Yeah, we go
yeah,
to dust after, like
mm,
the actors
yeah,
go on the stage and that's life, and then you leave the stage and
yeah,
you go back to your life, you disappear. Yeah.
yeah. So
Good.
what do we have here? Well, you have I think the explanation is clear, and
Yes.
some examples. If it's not clear, we can ask the audience if they have
Yeah,
any
please
problems.
tell us if you want more examples. We'll try to find them for you.
Oh, I have many, for
But
example.
if not, we'll go. Should we go to
Yeah,
analogies now? Because the thing with analogies is that they're kind of metaphors and similes combined, and maybe more with more detail. So they're kind of more involved. You can use metaphors and similes to make an analogy to something. Let's find an example. Here we are. So if I'm trying to explain an atom, and if you remember your physics, there's something like there's the nucleus, and then there's the neutrons and the electrons, and one is moving around the other. So you can say an atom's like a solar system. The nucleus is the sun, and the electrons are the planets moving around the sun. So you're drawing an analogy. We use the collocation to draw an analogy with the solar system to explain an atom, because maybe you don't know what an atom is with the neutrons and the electrons, but you do know the sun and the planets. So you're using one thing to describe another. And inside an analogy is very often a metaphor or a simile. There's another one.
Yeah, but I don't know if the metaphor is like more poetic than the analogy.
Yes, it often is. Yeah, it often is.
And
It's
now you're
more
saying something. Yeah, it is. This a metaphor is often poetically saying something is something else. An analogy is saying something is like something else to make some sort of explanation point.
Exactly.
You can use metaphors and similes when creating an analogy. So this is the one definition I found on the web.
And this is another example. Life is like a race. The one who keeps running wins the race. So keep working, keep on chasing your goals, chasing your future. The one who stops to catch a breath loses the race and loses maybe life, or doesn't get so far in their career. So you're comparing life to a race. I don't really like that analogy, but it's a good example.
Let's see if I have. Do you have more analogies? I have one.
Not off the top of my head, but we can find one or two more if that's not clear. Gemma says life's like a box of chocolates. Forrest Gump. Yeah. Life's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. That's a good analogy, Gemma. Thank you.
You never know. That's true. The Forrest Gump. And I have here another one. That's as useful as rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. It looks like you're doing something helpful, but really it will make no difference in the end.
Exactly.
So, like rearranging deck chairs, o sea, organizando tumbonas en el Titanic.
Well, because like, it's going to sink anyway, so you're wasting your time. You're doing something useless.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I put another example in the chat.
Yeah,
finding a good man is like finding a needle in a haystack.
In a haystack. Es como encontrar una aguja en un pajar, ¿no? This is another. Let me see if I have more.
Here's another one I found. Speaking about a film or a movie, you could say that the film was a roller coaster ride of emotions. Yeah. So a roller coaster is montaña rusa, is it?
Yes.
In Spanish.
Yes.
So imagine you're going up, you're going down, you're happy, you're sad, you're crying, you're excited, and the film took you on a journey like on a roller coaster. So you're again drawing a comparison with something else to make the example clear. So you're using that to draw an analogy. Ask us if you have any questions. If anything's not clear, please let us know, because they are quite similar. They are quite similar. So let's move to our final group, which is euphemisms. What's a euphemism? It's a word or phrase used to avoid saying an unpleasant or offensive word. And we often use this when we speak about things that are uncomfortable to talk about. Now, that could be religion, that could be sex, that could be death, for example. That could be money. Anything that's not comfortable to talk about, we could use a euphemism in a similar way to an analogy or a metaphor. I
like one. I have one that I like a lot.
Which one?
This is, she is between two jobs. So I think it was.
Yes.
Yes. She's between jobs. You could say she's between jobs. So that means that you're unemployed, but you don't want to say she's unemployed. It's, in a way, it's like positive thinking, no? It's something like positive. It's going to get a job very pretty soon. So why?
But don't give any more, because that was one of the ones we were going to test.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
So, no, it's okay. Don't take any more though from the internet, just in case it's one of our banner questions.
Okay.
I've put that in the chat so that you can see it.
Between jobs and employed.
That's really useful. Also, if you're in a job interview and they say, what's your current position? What are you doing at the moment? It doesn't sound very good to say, oh, I'm unemployed. I'm claiming unemployment benefit. It's quite negative. But if you say I'm between jobs at the moment, that sounds quite positive. You finished one job before, you're going to start another job soon, so you're between jobs. And that's much nicer in a job interview than, oh, I'm unemployed. So try to remember that for your next interview.
I'm trying to think whether this, at least in American English, is quite common to do this, because there's a lot of marketing. And I think
especially now, where everyone's so politically correct and they don't like saying things that maybe might offend someone, they're using a lot of euphemisms.
There's a lot, but also I was thinking one that is about, well, I won't say it just in case it's on your list, but I remember hearing lots of them and saying, oh, what a way to say and even new ones, because people don't want to say negative things. So
there's one that we can show you, because we have it on a banner here. Very often, old, if you say someone's old, that's not very nice. To call a person old, it's not nice. So in the UK, very often we say a senior citizen to mean someone who's old, maybe a pensioner. Or you could say a person in their third age is another euphemism for a pensioner. And we don't often say someone died. We say they passed away. That phrasal verb, to pass away.
In Spanish is the same. You say, you have certain words that you wouldn't use. Like, it's also tercera edad, no? Not the third age.
The third age.
Not to say old person. So
let's test you. So we're going to show you some euphemisms, and we want you to write in the chat what you think the euphemism means. Okay, so what are these euphemisms for, really, in English? Okay. If you say, let someone go.
I was about to say that one.
Was that the one you were thinking of? Yeah.
Because this in American English is quite common to use this one, because
in British English too, it's very common.
We let him go.
Yeah,
it's funny. Also, I find that it's very funny. It's like
picks him up then.
Yeah, it's very funny. What does it mean? Miriam is asking, retire is also used to say old person. Retire is a pensioner.
Well, an old person, a retired person doesn't
same as-
necessarily need to be old, because you can retire in your 40s if you are
Yeah,
rich
that's
enough.
why. It's
So
the same in Spanish.
you can take early retirement, which means you
Yeah.
retire before the official age of your country. So it's not exactly the same, although retired people usually are old. That's true.
Yeah, but it's not the same. And it's funny because Christine has to let someone go.
That's
No.
no, you can say to let one go means to fart. Like I let one go means I farted. And if you don't know the meaning of fart, is tirar un pedo. So to let one go, I let one go. Yeah, you can use that as a euphemism for to fart, but it's not exactly the same as to let a person go. So what does that mean?
A person go, not a fart. I was thinking you have there's a good machination. Let someone go.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows
Nobody
what
knows.
is this. What is to let someone go?
So to let someone go, why don't you tell them, Monica, while I put it in the chat?
Let someone go is to fire someone, to sack someone, to despedir a alguien. So instead of saying we fired Craig, you said we let him go, and you say what? So he is like he wanted to go, and we just let him go, but that's not true. We really sack him because we didn't like him. Whatever.
Or well, no, maybe the company has financial difficulties, and it's happening now in many countries because of the pandemic, and the boss
let people go.
says to you, I'm really sorry, you know, we have to reduce the number of employees, and we're going to have to let you go. And you say, I don't want to go, and they say, no, we're going to let you go. There's the door.
Yeah, but it's kind of insulting when they say you got to let you go, like you were asking to go, and it's
to
not
leave.
true.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if you know this one, Christine. To do a number two.
To do a number two. This you explain better than me. I think Christine, this is in the same way. This is similar to what Christine was saying with fart. No?
Did you know this, Monica? Did you know this
really,
one?
No, I know it. No, yes, I know it, but I never use that. So I know it because of reading, but no.
Okay, so if you know what this euphemism is for, when do we say, I've done a number two? What does that mean?
To be the second woman in a man's life? No.
That's very imaginative, Miriam, but not quite right.
There's a number one. There must be a number two. I don't know.
That's right. Yes, that's true. If there's a number two, there must be a number one.
I know. Yes, I understand now.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we tell them? Well, a number one is to go to the toilet where it's only liquid.
Yeah.
And number two is to go to the toilet where it's more solid. And the polite way to say that is a bowel movement. So that's in the chat. So if you say, oh, I need to do a number two, then that's, you need to go and sit down for a while on the toilet. Is a number two. And number one, obviously men stand up. But
I was thinking you just say I need to go to the toilet. That's it. I don't think it's necessary to explain.
Yes, but if I say I need to go to the toilet, and my wife says, we'll go and use a tree in the countryside, and I say, well, no, it's number two. That's
kids
where,
that's
true. That's true, Laura.
Yeah.
Kids use number one and number two.
Yeah.
It's very useful for kids.
I was thinking that in Spanish, at least I don't know any expression like that. Well, there are some expressions, but it still is vulgar to say that. It's not very polite to say that. Tengo que hacer un... No, there are expressions in Spanish from Spain, and I'm sure from Spanish from South America, there are expressions. But I don't remember. Tengo que hacer un pino. Tengo que hacer un pino. There's one.
Very, very useful in the forest. Yeah.
Yeah. In Spanish, we used to use it. Yeah, but but tengo que dar un pino. I would say that's somebody very close to me, but I wouldn't say it to people. Like, I would never say that because it's,
Laura says in Spanish they also
yeah,
say it.
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. But I wouldn't say it just like that to anybody, no? Like to the waiter, sorry, you're in the bar. Sorry, before I go to the table, I have to do a number 2. I wouldn't say that.
No. You have to think about the relationship you have with, yeah. Okay, the next one, to break wind.
We are in the same
Another
category.
Well, no, because I mean that's what euphemisms are for. They're used
exactly.
to speak about uncomfortable subjects that maybe you feel embarrassed to talk about. That's when we use euphemisms. So of course, some of the words are embarrassing.
Yeah.
So what does to break wind mean?
Does anybody
Any
know?
ideas? Christine, do you know this one?
Yeah, I think Christine has the clue. Yes.
Heidi's got it. Yeah, it means to fart.
Thing.
And fart is not really a nice word, but to break wind is much more polite. Say, excuse me, I've broken wind. That means to fart.
To release gas, Gemma says.
Yes, to release gas is another nice way to say it. So, okay, let's...
Miriam says, to defeat difficulties.
That should be a euphemism. That should be a euphemism for breaking wind, Miriam. Yes. I've defeated some difficulties, and I apologize for the smell. The next one, let's move out of the toilet for a few minutes. Let's change subjects and show you another euphemism.
To be well off. But to be well off is quite common. This to be well off, because I know, for example, Craig is quite well off. You
think so?
He's
does that mean
well
I look? Does that mean I look well? I look healthy?
No, that's not.
No, it doesn't. Meaning. What does it mean if you say, "Yeah, she's very well off"? Or,
Miriam
Monica's very well off.
Miriam, I wish I were. Miriam says there's a movie called The Kid Who Defeated the
Broke the Wind. There's Gone with the Wind. That's a there's The Wind in the Willows. That's another.
A movie called The Kid Who Defeated the To be well off. Okay, Gemma has the answer, and Christine has the answer.
And Christine has the answer. Yeah, to be rich. Very good.
To be rich.
Exactly. So if you say, yes, he's well off, or he's well off, or that family is very well off, they have a lot of money. That's what it means. So that's also going in the chat so that you have it. It means you're rich. They bought a new car. They're very well off. Next one.
To feel under the weather. Yeah. To feel, but this is like to soften the meaning, no? I don't want to say the meaning, but it's like to soften, because it's you don't want to directly say anything about you.
It's what it means, but not very bad.
Yeah, but, not very bad, but.
And you often you often modify it with I'm feeling a bit under the weather.
Yes,
a little under the weather, a bit
it's
under the weather.
It's a very strange expression, no? Because what is exactly under the weather? I cannot think of a meaning, no? And Christine has the answer.
Yes, well done.
Also Gemma, to feel ill.
And Gemma.
To be sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you feel you're uncomfortable because you feel a little bit sick, and you say, I'm a little bit under the weather today, so I won't go. I won't go to work. Whatever. So
I've been feeling under the weather lately.
To be sick or to be ill. Ill is more a British word. And
I
sick
think
is more
I
like.
think the next one, I think you know that you'll know this. This is quite easy. If you sleep with someone.
Now eschatological. Now we go into another topic. That is, well, I don't want to blow the whistle. That's another.
Don't blow the whistle, no.
That's another way of saying. I don't know if it is simile. It's a simile to blow the whistle. Or no?
Glaucam says you could feel under the weather if you can't break wind. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's interesting because obviously it's a different word. In English, we say constipated, but constipado is a false friend because constipado means you have a cold, and constipated means you're blocked, but at the other end, and that could make you feel under the weather. Exactly. Yes.
Gemma has the answer. Yeah, and Christine, as always. To have sexual encounter and to have sex with them. Yeah, to sleep with someone. But yeah, this is a nice way of saying it.
Did you sleep with him? Did you sleep with her? Means did you have sex? Exactly. So maybe you didn't spend the night, but the meaning is you had sex.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. We have two more. If you are in the family way, what does that mean? Does that mean that you are hoping one day to have a family, or that you are in a family, or what does that euphemism mean? And I'll give you a clue. It's only used to describe a female. She's in the family way. What does that mean? Any idea?
Well, more or less, it's the description. This is Gemma. Okay.
Yeah,
to be
Gemma's got
pregnant.
it. To be
Miriam
pregnant.
Says, to feel like at home. No.
Not to be pregnant.
No,
Yeah, it means you're pregnant. If you say she's in the family way, she's going to have a baby. Yeah. Let me put that in the chat for you as well.
And especially for the first baby, because if you already have a baby, you already have a family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as to have a bun in the oven. No.
Yes,
but
have a bun in the oven.
Normally the bun in the oven is when, say, I have a bun in the oven. And sometimes you see somebody, this happened to me. And sometimes I saw an acquaintance that she got really fat, and I said, "Oh, you're pregnant. Do you have a bun in the oven?" She said, "No."
No, I just put on weight. Yeah, that's embarrassing. You put your foot in it, you could say.
Yes.
Okay, we have one more. Negative cash flow is
what? Well, I don't want to say.
Obviously, speaking about money.
Yeah.
But in what way? Money can be a sensitive subject. So if we say, "Oh, I've got negative cash flow at the moment," so you'd say, "I've got," or "I have negative cash flow." What does that mean? I think it's quite obvious, quite self-explanatory.
Yeah, it's very easy because I think you can understand it. To be in debt. Yeah. Yes.
Well done, Christine. Exactly.
Yeah, very well. So to have a negative or to be in the red numbers. Also,
to be in the red.
Yeah. To be in
owe
the red.
Money. Yeah, no money.
No money. Exactly.
Exactly. Miriam says the bun in the oven, or to be in the family way, is to have the stove full of smoke. I haven't heard that. Would you use that?
No, not that I know. In Spanish, too. Maybe that is in I don't know where Miriam is from, but
where you from? Where are you from, Miriam? Are you from Argentina? Is that an Argentinian or Central or South American expression? Because I've never heard that here in Spain. That's interesting.
Stove. What is it? Stove full of smoke. This I don't know. I never heard it.
A stove
because
full
this
of
is
smoke.
not Spanish. A saying, at least that I know. Never heard that. Argentina. Yes, it says from Argentina.
So maybe it's from an Argentinian expression.
But that means to be pregnant, Miriam? What does it mean? To have this full of smoke?
Yeah.
To be pregnant?
Yeah.
Yes.
I learned something today. Thank you, Miriam. And
Yes.
the last banner we had before, to be between jobs means unemployed, as we said before. Shall we go back and review the expressions
Yes. Okay.
we had at the beginning?
Yeah.
So similes, Monica, tell them about similes again quickly.
Yeah, when we compare two things and that are of a different kind, but also to make it, more, I think, like a picture, because you can see more visual. So examples are: she's like a rose, my shoes smell like old cheese, and he eats like a pig. So you see,
And the other
we use
examples we had,
as yeah,
as smooth as silk we had as well. As
as
old as the
old as
hills.
the hills, as hard as nails,
As cold as ice. She's as cold as ice.
I slept like a log.
I'm as blind as a bat.
As cool as a cucumber.
And as light as a feather. So remember that as, you have to have those two ases, or like something, the word like. And then we had metaphors, symbolizing something else and making a comparison, just comparing something. For example, the computers are dinosaurs. They're useless. Time's money, my boss is a witch, and all the world's a stage.
And remember, it's more poetic. It can be more poetic. And then analogy, when an idea or a thing is compared to another thing that is quite different from it and is used for clarification. And it can contain metaphors and similes also. No? So, example, the structure of an atom is like a solar system. The nucleus is the sun, and electrons are the planets revolving around their sun. So it's an analogy.
And another analogy we had: life is like a race. The one who keeps running wins the race, and the one who stops to catch a breath loses. And then we moved on finally to euphemisms, when things may be a bit embarrassing to speak about. For example, old age. You could say they're in the third age, or they're a senior citizen, or they're elderly instead of old. There's another example. They passed away means they died. And then we had
to let someone go, that means to fire someone or to sack someone in British English.
And we had going to the toilet. We had number 1 and number 2.
Liquid or solid. To break a wing.
Liquid or solid.
To fart.
To be well off is to have a lot of money. You can also say to be comfortable. That's another funny one. If they're comfortable, that doesn't mean they're in a nice soft chair. That means they have a lot of money. Oh, they're very comfortable. They go away on holiday. They have nice cars. They're very comfortable, very well off.
To be or feel under the weather, so as to feel ill or sick.
If you sleep with someone, you have sex.
To be in the family way, only for women. To be pregnant. No?
And if you have negative cash flow, you are in debt, or you owe money to someone.
To be between jobs, you are unemployed.
Yeah. Okay. We hope that was useful. We hope you learned some things about English there. And before we go, we'll just remind you that Monica has a wonderful blog.
Yeah. Blog del Inglés and blog para aprender inglés. And lots of free material, exercises, courses, everything about in Spanish. Explaining, most of it is in Spanish. Okay. And also we offer Skype classes, remember. If you go to the page, you'll find some banners for the Skype classes.
And I'm sure if you go to Monica's blog, you'll find a very good detailed explanation of similes, metaphors, analogies, and euphemisms.
Later, in 2 weeks or so. Yeah.
In 2 weeks or so, yeah. So go and check that out. And I'm from mentioningles.com, where you can find material to improve your English. Don't forget to sign up for register for our free newsletter, and we will send you exercises and listenings and other material via email. And if you haven't heard the podcast, go and listen. It's free. And you can find Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig, our podcast, anywhere where you listen to audio. So, we're as cool as a cucumber, says Miriam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel as old as the hills, Miriam. I feel as old as the hills, but thank you for saying that.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I'll be back next week with Lynn. And in 2 weeks, I think Monica's going to be here. I may not be, but as usual, we'll be putting the information on our Facebook pages. And also you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mancy on Twit. And Monica is Monicats. Monicats.
For the Facebook page?
No, Twitter.
Twitter is Monicats. Yes.
Monicats. So follow us on Twitter. We'll tell you what's happening in the future on Wednesdays. And until next time, take care.
Take care.
You for watching.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.